Welcome to Your Journey. I'm your host, Chuck Lewis, and we got a special guest with us today, Mike Chancey, a.k.a. Mellow Mac. What's going on, man?
What's up, bro? How you, my man?
I'm doing good, man. Just trying to maintain, obviously we in this pandemic, trying to adjust to the new normal, but everything's good on my side. How about your family?
Everybody good, man. It's Mother's Day, just being away from the family, it's kind of tough, you know what I mean? Like, had to call my mom, call my sister, you know what I'm saying? Like, stuff like this, it's the pandemic, you don't really recognize the small things, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
The fact that you just can't get up on the plane and go see your family for, like, special occasions or whatnot, or travel home really much in general, no matter how you get there, because you just don't want to, there's just too many factors in play. So, it's other than that, I'm good, but, you kind of get down on days like that where you're like, I missed my niece's 15th birthday 2 weeks ago.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, these like milestones in their lives, you know what I'm saying? And you can't be around for, but it is what it is.
No, I completely understand.
We'll get through it.
Go ahead.
I said, we'll get through it and come out stronger.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I'm the same way. I haven't been back in Pittsburgh pretty much since I was 18, graduated and then lived in Ohio for some years. And then now living in Maryland for the past 3 years. So, ultimately you miss a lot of those small things that you take for granted sometimes, but you can't just hop on a flight or make a drive like myself. I'm only 3.5 hours away. So hopefully, man, when everything clears up, everybody stays safe and we can move forward. But we're going to hop right into it, man. So talk to me about what it was like growing up in Braddock, PA as a young man.
Sheesh. Braddock was, it had its phases, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember in the 80s, growing up is just, just being outside and just being a normal kid, man, but seeing stuff you wasn't supposed to see.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember sitting there and playing in the parking lot, like right next door to my house, and we sitting there talking to the older man that was coming up the street, just being kids, and he was being respectful, talking to him like we did every day, saying hello. He would always stop to talk to us or give us a quarter or something like that. He stopped to talk to us, and I remember we were just sitting there in the parking lot. We were just sitting there talking, me, Leos, and my god brother Leos, and it was me and him. We was talking to the old man, and some guy just came out the bushes and robbed him right in front of us at that point. You know what I'm saying? Like, right. Stuff like that you just never forget. But it was like it was that time. It was like the late '80s. Everybody know what happened in the late '80s, like the crack epidemic across the country, and it was crazy. So it was. I mean, that's the type of stuff we would see as a kid, but besides the bad, there was always something for us to do. Like, one thing I can say about Braddock is, in my time, we always had something going on. Like, we always had the Little League baseball field was always open for us. I mean, we might have spent from like late April all the way to August, all day up there. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt.
All day. We always had the Salvation Army for us. We always had the Braddock Library. So we always had something to keep us occupied, to keep us away from everything else.
So you talk about sports. What was the actual first sport that you started playing, and what age was that?
Baseball. Baseball was first, probably like I played T-ball. T-balls. So I don't know how old you was in T-ball, 7, something like that.
I think when I started playing, I was probably about 6, 7, somewhere in that age bracket. No, that's what's up.
It's my first love.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't realize that, but a lot of great athletes started out playing baseball. Most people don't start playing football at 6 and 7. Well, some people do, but a lot of people don't. But if you look at a lot of great athletes, Michael Jordan and some others, man, they started out playing baseball. Deion Sanders, their first sport was baseball. They kind of transitioned a little bit more deeper into youth sport. Your parents were very influential in the community of Braddock, coaching youth sport. What inspired them to do that?
What inspired them?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it was just in them, you know what I'm saying? Like, first off, but I think really they seen everything that was going on out there outside also, you know what I'm saying? Like, they seen everything that was going on. They figured a way to raise some young black men and a young lady, you know what I'm saying? Like, just to keep us occupied, you know what I'm saying? Like, so that's my, I would have to ask them personally, but that's the way I look at it. I feel like it was already in them, just like my dad's that type of guy, so is my mom.
Right.
But because they still do it to this day, my mom still coached the cheerleading team up to high school. Like my dad is done, but my mom is still coaching. So like, I think it's just in them. But I think another reason was like my mom and dad seeing like a need in the community. You know what I'm saying? Like, and a need to keep their kids and other kids that their kids hungry occupied.
Yeah, and shout out to Miss Shalise and Coach Starge for making such an impact in the community of Braddock. I know they had a big impact on me. Just me starting out in youth sport and having individuals that truly cared. It wasn't just about coaching that sport, but it was also about coaching you on life, you know, and they was great life coaches at that young age. So shout out to them. So let's transition a little bit more into high school. You went to Woodland Hills High School. What was that experience like going there?
Woodland Hills, the high school was all right, K-Live, you know what I'm saying? Our junior high was rough. Okay. East junior high was rough, but when we transitioned to high school and both junior high schools merged together, it was fun. It was a good time, you know what I mean? Do I got any regrets about high school? I probably shouldn't have walked away from baseball, but, you know, when I got to high school, I got into basketball a whole lot more. I got into basketball a whole lot more in junior high. Probably my 9th grade year is when I really, really felt like I had enough game to really take it to the next level. You know what I'm saying? Like I could play. I still was green. I still had things I needed to work on, but I fell in love with basketball probably around then, 9th grade. But high school as in general, just like the average life of high school, it was cool because like Woodland Hills High School at that time was a pretty good blend. Was a pretty good blend of, you know what I mean, not can't say multiracial, which is black and white, you know what I'm saying? Like, but it was cool, you know, and a lot of the kids that I grew up with some of them kids since 1st grade, you know what I'm saying? Like kids from like Eastmont and Churchill, like they was in classes with me in Wilkes Township, they was in classes with me since like 1st grade. So like, you know, it was a good blend and I'm still good friends with a lot of them guys now. Then you take my homeboys from Braddock and then you merge in my friends from Rankin because I never went to school with none of my friends from Rankin. Because all my friends from Rankin and all that, they went to West. They went to all the other elementaries and they went to West Junior High. And half of North Braddock went to West Junior High. So we finally got to all come together with everybody that, you know, you was cool with, and it was a good time.
No, that's what's up, man. Woodland Hills, one of the most notable high schools, especially as far as athletics is concerned. But diversity in the Pittsburgh area was definitely key with that school as well. So you have a brother in the great Tutu Ferguson, was a star athlete as well, just like yourself. You were a great basketball player at Woodland Hills. What was it like growing up in that household, both of you guys being competitive individuals, being successful, you on the court, him in every sport? How was that growing up in that household with that type of competitiveness?
Well, I was good. He was great. I mean, I appreciate the love, but he was great. I was good. But you know what? It was, I mean, me and Tutu got an old school type of vibe. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was always competition between us. And you know what I mean? It still is to this day. Like, if I had the wheels to get on the court, I'd try to go at him. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, I never really had no problems with him in basketball or whatnot, but he was just super athletic, man. There was really nothing you could do with him. I would just have to try to bully him, but that wasn't going to work because he was strong as hell. So, like, you know, I just had to be taller than him. You know what I'm saying? That's all I could do. But as far as, like, just watching him transition, I didn't get a chance to see it all because my freshman year when I went on to college, like, is when he really, everything was pouring in. But I do remember being home and, like, high school years, man, and just seeing, like, letters coming in the mail from all the schools that you just dreamed about, you know what I'm saying? Like, and just schools you see on TV and some of the legendary coaches writing him handwritten letters, and you looking at it like, wow, that's from him? Like, wow, you know what I mean? So it was definitely a wow factor. But you know what? It kind of, like, living in the household with him, it kind of molded me and trained me for my next transition, which was after college, like, into the music industry, because there was no way of me ever being kind of starstruck, because I remember media coming to my house You know what I'm saying? Like I remember cameras always being in his face, or questions always be, or somebody always calling. So like I kind of knew how to handle all that type of stuff. There was no type of you know what I mean? Like I had witnessed it. I witnessed a local celebrity. You know what I'm saying? Like he was a local celebrity, and I witnessed it and I lived through it, and it just made it easy for me to transition to everything else that I'm doing in my life now.
No, I think that's very important, especially when you talk about that motivational factor, you know, having somebody that's in the house with you and seeing some of the things that he's doing and success that he has, you know, motivates you as well. You know, knowing Tutu myself personally, I mean, he really inspired me as a young man. And the biggest thing that I took from him was just he played every down like it was his last, you know, so I'm sure you saw that as well. So shout out to Tutu Ferguson, I mean, for being a legend in the community of Braddock and did some great things on and off the court, man. And he was just a guy that, man, really inspired a lot of young people to play the game at a high level because he played every down like it was his last and never took it for granted. No doubt, man. That's big. So your senior year comes up at Woodland Hills. That was like your breakout year. What went into that year as far as the preparation that you did to prepare for that year coming up?
Well, I mean, geez, like it was a long, honestly, it was a preparation since ninth grade, man. It was working at it since ninth grade. So here's what happened, man. It's a funny story. When I was in ninth grade, going into my ninth grade year, when I was in ninth grade, going into my 10th grade year, that was like 1995, maybe 495. No, and that's the year the Houston Rockets won the championship. So you know me, I was a guard all the way through ninth grade. So I'm watching the Rockets, and I see a legend one with all this footwork.
Yeah,
I'm like, man, I could do that. I would kill these dudes out here because I don't mind playing, because even when I was dribbling up as a point guard, I used to play with my back to the basket like I was Magic or something. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, because in junior high school, they didn't play point guard, man, and two guards. So, like, I was playing guard, and I wasn't like the ball-handling type dude that just dribble in front of your face. I always played with my back. Like, you wasn't going to take the ball from me because I was using my back. You know, I used my body. But that year, I worked on everything, man. That summer, that transition summer from 9th to 10th, I worked on my legs, worked on my hops. My dad's good friend bought me a weight vest. I put that thing on. I walked around Braddock with it all day long. My mom got like 30 steps going upstairs to the bathroom. I'm doing toe raises on every step every day. So it was a preparation from after the basketball season ended in 9th grade all the way to my 12th grade year. So, of course, my sophomore year, I was ready to play varsity my sophomore year, but Woodland Hills had a no-cut policy. So we had 18 seniors on that team and only 2 underclassmen, which was Delrico Fletcher and Matt Barker, and they was both juniors. So I used to go practice with the varsity team, but I wasn't like, you know, I would go practice. I would do JV. And it was so crazy with the no-cut policy. I'm not sure how it was your year, but we had 2 JV teams, 2 full JV teams.
Wow.
About 15 players apiece on the JV team.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't like that. My sophomore year, I think we just had 1 and 1. We obviously had the varsity, and then you just had the 1 JV. We didn't have as many guys come out that year, so that's interesting. I didn't realize that. So
when you look at the basketball program, my 10th grade year, there was probably 48 to 50 kids.
Wow.
Because the varsity team had 20. The varsity team had 20 players, 18 seniors and 2 underclassmen, and then our JV team, we had 2 full JV teams. So, you know, I was kind of ready to play varsity my sophomore year. I wouldn't have been a starter or nothing like that. I wouldn't have been an impact player or nothing, but I would have came in and helped, you know what I'm saying? But I just kept working, man, and we just stayed in the gym. One thing about going back to Tutu was, even though he was a football player at heart, he went to the court every day. He was at the court every single day we could be there. I mean, I remember my great-grandmother passed away, and we had a game that day against Newcastle, so we had to travel up to Winsboro for the funeral. I was like, Mom, I know this your grandma, but we got to get back to my game, you know what I mean? Because that's how much we love the sport. We love the hoop, and we didn't want to miss nothing. So to prepare for my senior year, it was like really just waiting my turn, because, you know, I got a taste of being my turn when the 96 team went to the state finals in football. So I had a taste of it being my turn then. And because they missed the first probably 7, 8 games they probably missed all the games going into December. So because the championship was in December, I believe, something like that.
Yeah, the first week of December.
Yeah. So they kind of missed all those. They missed the first couple tournaments and the first couple games. So they probably missed like the first 6, 7 games. And it was Barker was still that guy as a senior, but then when it came, then me and my man Howie was up next. And I remember before Fletcher and them came back, I was averaging a double my junior year. But then when you got a player like Del Rico come back, like he was he was first team all section his junior year. You know what I'm saying? Like, so he was a beast. So when he comes back, everything shifts. You know what I'm saying? But I was getting ready then. But by the time my senior year came, I was ready. You know what I'm saying? And I was definitely ready. And it was just from all the work in the summer leagues, the everything we was doing, man. Summer leagues, spring leagues, fall leagues, just everything preparing for that basketball season. Basketball camps.
I think that's huge. I mean, obviously that helps you transition to the next stage of your life. You commit to Lock Haven University, which is a school in the PSAC conference, one of the best Division II conferences out there in the country. What led you to going to Lock Haven University, and then like what other schools were you thinking about going to outside of going to Lock Haven?
So man, when it comes to my college situation was kind of it was different because like no shade at anything going on at Woodland Hills, but our coaches just didn't have that type of, and basketball wise. Meanwhile, I'm looking at our basketball coaches didn't have that type of pool with any type of schools or whatnot. So we had to go out and get it on our own. So my decision was so late in being made. I made a late decision. So when I really started getting recruited when I went to Born to Run basketball camp. I went to Born to Run basketball camp the summer of my going into my senior year, and I started getting a lot of D3, Division III letters and whatnot, and a lot of coaches was interested. There was a couple D2 schools interested, like Catawba, Lock Haven. Wasn't many on the Division II level, but I had a lot of Division IIIs. So the Division IIIs was, man, if I look back in life now and I just didn't realize what I was doing.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Now that I talked to a lot of people that there was a particular school called Amherst that was interested in me, and they wanted me bad, and they was going to give me, like, you know how D3 is really not scholarship, but they coach had it to where I wasn't going to pay nothing. Right. And he was one of the coaches at Born to Run, and he fell in love with me there, you know what I'm saying? But when he sent me the demographics, man, you know, where Amherst is, it's up in like Massachusetts somewhere, and, or New Hampshire. One of them, I can't remember, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, somewhere where there wasn't no black folks, man. It was like 2%. And now he told me that 2% was all athletes, male athletes.
Wow. So,
you know, that right there, I'm like, what'd you say?
I said, that's tough. That's tough right there.
And I was like, you know, it's far away, first off. I mean, it's not a drive home I can make. It's cold as hell up there. And there's no black folks. And I'm like, I love the coach. He was a black man, and he was straight, man. Like, he was the most persistent coach out of them all. And I was like, you know, because that's where I was leaning towards until I got them demographics, man. I was really leaning towards there because out of all the other D3 schools like Bethany and all them other ones that was coming, I just really wasn't interested. But there was something about that school I was interested in, but just the demographics had stopped me from going. Now so this is probably, like May, I still ain't choose nothing. June come, I still ain't choose nothing.
Wow. Okay.
Man, so, you know, I'm way behind the 8 ball. And I'm like, man, I got to make a decision. So I reached back into the bag and start calling the schools that I reached out to me before. So I hit up Lock Haven. And the assistant coach at the time, his name was Fillion or whatnot, Coach Fillion. And he was like, we'll come up for a visit in the summer. Come up for a visit. So me and my family went up. I took Jeremy Hicks with me. We went up and I went to the visit. And I liked the school now. Granted, it was a half an hour away from my grandparents in Pennsylvania, and they was getting to that age and getting older and health reasons. So kind of weighed a big factor in me going there, you know, because my mother is from Williamsport, Pennsylvania. and Lock Haven is 26 miles outside of Williamsport and 26 miles outside of Penn State. So it's in between Williamsport and Penn State. So now that way to factor in, I went up there and I didn't commit till early August. So my freshman year, I didn't have my scholarship. Didn't have a scholarship because I was a late commit. So I was considered a walk-on. And I got my scholarship the next year, but my sophomore year, but I didn't get it my freshman year because I didn't commit till August. So I committed way too late. So I was just way behind the ball.
Nah, I think that's a good story, man. Because I didn't even realize that. I didn't realize you didn't make a decision until August, and you wasn't even 100% sure exactly where you were going to go. You had to get it out the mud that first year, so you came on as like a preferred walk-on and had to earn your scholarship. So that's huge. You ended up, obviously earning that scholarship and having a successful career there. But talk about what was that first year like? Now you're coming from Braddock, PA, into Lock Haven University, which is, if I'm not mistaken, is that out in York, PA, or that's out close by there?
No, it's actually Lock Haven, Pennsylvania. It's in Clinton County, Lock Haven, Pennsylvania. It's directly, like I said, it's considered central PA.
Yeah.
It's not too far from York, probably about an hour and some change, but we're closer to Williamsport, where the Little League World Series is. We're right next to Penn State. It's right next to Penn State. So, like I said, it's 26 miles from Penn State, 26 miles from Williamsport going the other direction. So we're right there in the middle of those two. Had a lot of kids up there from like Harrisburg. So there's a lot of kids from York. So it's not too far away from those places, but it's closer to Penn State and Williamsport. But my first year up there, man, it was I remember, man, I remember this day like it was yesterday, man. So I remember getting in the car. My mom was like, "Look, let's go. We got to get you to school," right? I remember them dropping me off, and it was like I'm just looking outside. I was like, "Yo, I'm in the new world, man. This sure ain't Braddock no more.
Yeah.
This ain't Braddock no more. Like, man, this surely ain't Braddock no more." I mean, it was culture shock because, like, remember I told you about Amherst, right? Lock Haven wasn't too much better, bro.
Right.
Lock Haven wasn't too much better, but there was a whole lot more blacks than the 2 out of every 100. But it surely wasn't. It wasn't no more than 10%. I tell you that. So it was a culture shock, man. Being on that side of the state, big difference. Like I'm from, I mean, you're familiar with Braddock, but the viewers, man, like Braddock is like a suburb of Pittsburgh, but it's almost like its own little inner city vibe, though. You know what I mean? It's like so when you come from where you're coming from, a place like that, then I'm going to rural Pennsylvania, because like Central PA is like rural, you know what I'm saying? The majority of it. So, and Lock Haven was like, oh my gosh. So it was tough, man. But the only thing that kept me grounded was there was a guy out there from Woodland Hills. So I finally get to my dorm room. After looking at all this stuff, I'm mad at my mom. Like, why you drop me off? Like, I'm trying to call. We ain't got cell phones or nothing like that. I'm trying to find calling cards, everything. Just call her like, come get me, because this is crazy. But I finally make it to my room. I get back to my room after my mom dropped the stuff off, and I'm like, then I get a phone call. My phone rings. I don't know how they got my number. It was AJ Anderson. He was like, yo, you here? You know what I mean? I heard you was coming to Lock Haven, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to come pick you up. I'm like, all right, word. He comes pick me up, and he take me down his house. And, you know what I mean? That just opened my world. It was different. Like, everybody down there was majority seniors or whatnot, like older. But, you know what I mean? Like, I had somebody in common. I knew AJ from back in the neighborhood because my good friend Dion Prelude, we call him Juice. That was his family. So when I used to go up to the village and stay over at Dion's crib, we would walk up the Rankin to Upper Rankin and go over AJ's house or whatnot. So that helped me a lot. That transition helped me. And then I met one of my good friends that I'm still tight with to this day, that I even went in business with a couple times. And my good friend Stan Potts. I remember like day 2. This is a funny story. Like, man, I'm walking. There was a store called The Scoop, and it was finally that Friday. the first Friday of Lock Haven I was there. So it's probably the first week. This is before a basketball team met and everything. And I'm walking to the scoop, and this other dude pulls up on me in his car. I was like, "What's up, man?" I'm like, "What's up, bro?" Like, I'm looking at him. He's like, "You on the hoop team, right?" I was like, "Yeah." He said, "Where you going?" I'm saying, "I'm going to the scoop." He said, "Man, who you rolling with?" I'm rolling by myself. He said, "Man, you rolling with me now." It was like that. He was older. I was like that. You know what I mean? I get in the car with him, chop it up, and me and him is tight to this day. We still tight to this day. So that's how my transition. That's how I got a little comfortable. You know what I mean? Between AJ and Stan, they kind of showed me the ropes of what's going on in Lock Haven and showed me how a young black man could really find his way up there.
No, that's what's up, man. And then obviously, I mean, you found your way. You was able to navigate through there at Lock Haven, athletically and academically. You earned your bachelor's degree in business management. How did it feel to walk across the stage? A guy coming from Braddock, PA, going to Lock Haven, PA, going to a school like that, and having to adjust in that first year, but you was able to be successful athletically and academically, and then walk across the stage. What did that feel like?
You know what? When I look back on my journey of like from my freshman year to my senior year, man, like until I graduated in 4.5 years, and I could have graduated in 4, but I just refused to take a summer class. I refused to take a summer class. Like, I just didn't want to do it. My summers was my summers, man. I had a rough time at Lock Haven at first. Like, you know, my first year, like I told you, the transition was rough. I got injured a lot up there, man. Like, I had a ongoing back injury that kind of derailed my career. Kind of took me, you know, basically ended my career of playing basketball in general. I sat out my sophomore year because of my back, and I redshirted my sophomore year, and I missed my whole senior season because of my back. So, you know, after going through all that and that transition of, because it was more of just, it was a social transition, like dealing with women, you know what I mean? There wasn't a lot of black women up there, so it was like just trying to find you one, you know, it was tough. So like that was after the first year. So with all that going on, I couldn't focus on my grades either. Like, it was just not because of women, but it was just like a true social transition from where I came from. So my first year, and in high school, man, I was the guy that we had study hall. I never brought a book home a day in my life in high school. I did all my homework at study hall. So my first 2 years, a lot came in like trying to learn study habits was tough. Right. Trying to learn study habits and trying to adjust to your new life, and just dealing with that rigorous basketball schedule, that getting up at 5 a.m. to go lift weights, then going to run 2-3 miles on the dike, then coming back at go eat at 10 a.m., then go to class at 8 a.m. Then at 10 a.m. you got individual workouts. And at the individual workouts, you got another jog with the team. This time you're on the football field. Then you go straight to the gym. I'm like, that was rough, man. That was damn near all year, like with them workouts. So it was a huge transition, not just personally, but athletically. And so when I finally got a chance, and my junior year is when my grades clicked. Like once I got my junior year and I got into my major classes, man, I was all A's and B's. So when I finally got across that stage, man, it felt good. Like, whoa, I did it. Because I remember, man, it wasn't that easy when it first started. But then, you know, just a lot of hard work and a lot of just staying out of consistency, it became easy, and I was able to get through it.
Yeah, I mean, that's why the show is called Your Journey, man. Everybody has a different path, a different journey, man. And along a journey, there's a lot of ups, but there's also a lot of downs as well, you know. And so being able to navigate through that and still come out on top is definitely the goal, man. And so you graduate from Lock Haven and you decide to go into the music industry, okay? Talk about how you were at Lock Haven, you graduated with your degree in business management, and then you decide to go into the music industry. Talk about that transition.
Well, I had decided to go into the music industry when I left high school.
Okay.
That's the reason I wanted to get my degree in business management. I already knew what I wanted. I had no goals of playing basketball outside of the 3-4 years I was going to play at Lock Haven. No goals of playing no type of professional ball. Like, you know, I was a realist. I knew who I was. I was 6'2". I was undersized. I could play above the rim. Like, I had a nice vertical, whatnot. I could jump out the gym, but I wasn't going to nobody's leagues and playing big man nowhere. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of had an idea of what I was going to do. I had an idea of what I wasn't interested in. I wasn't interested in playing basketball outside of college. Now, I did have an interest in coaching, you know what I'm saying, but I didn't have an interest in playing no more. I just used that to get to what I really wanted, and I wanted to learn business so I could go into business, go into doing my own business in the music business. So that idea, that was already figured out in 1997. So 1990. So my musical journey is like this. 1997. A good friend of mine was graduating named Ken Williams. Ken Williams, I had told Ken, me and Ken Williams was working at Giant Eagle together. Ken was a stalker at Giant Eagle, and I was a cash register guy. I was on the register. But, you know, my whole day, I would just hit the little button, pull register tape out the thing, and write music in between customers. And Ken would notice it, and Ken was telling me that he rapped also. So, you know what I mean? Whenever we had a break, we'd go into the break room, chop it up, freestyle, rap back and forth. So me and Ken decided that we was going to do it. You know what I mean? We was going to do this music thing. So we linked up with another homie of mine named Mark Blasingame. We called him Big Measy. They both lived right off of Hawkins. Kenny lived on Hawkins. Kenny lived right next door to you.
Right.
You know what I mean? And Mark lived right around the corner. You know where that store was? Down there on the old store that was on the corner right there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That, and if you go down that street right there, that little side street, Mark was like the second house down. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I used to walk up there. We used to all meet at Measy's house or meet at Ken's house and start making music or whatnot. And it was wild because then I met a guy named Mr. Yuck. Mr. Yuck was like a Pittsburgh pioneer when it came to the music game. I had already started off, I had met Yuck. I had already knew your uncle at the time from my cousin. My cousin and your uncle was tight. I had already knew him at the time, but I wasn't ready to, my bad, a big bird just flew past. So let me jump. But I had already knew your uncle at the time, but I just wasn't really there yet to really try to reach out to him for music at that point in time. So we started off with Mr. Yuck, and Yuck was like, Yuck seen a lot in us, and what Yuck would do is Yuck showed us where we could rent equipment at. Mm-hmm. So what I would do is we would sit down, write a whole project out, like Kenny would make the beat or Yuck would make the beat. Then we would get in, take my dad's car, drive the Blondox PA, the pianos and things, and rent out everything we needed to create a full studio for a weekend.
Wow.
Then we would take that equipment, go up to East Pittsburgh Prospects, which is like the projects. Mm-hmm. Yuck would shut down one of the building's basements where the laundry room was. Couldn't nobody come wash clothes all weekend. And we would set up a whole studio in there. And we'd just rock out, man. And we made music, and we called ourselves the Corleone fam at that time.
No, that right there, I mean, a lot of young people don't realize like the type of dedication you got to have. You know, I mean, that right there, taking full advantage of every resource. And if you don't have the resource, finding a way to make something available for you to still get the job done. And so that drive and determination right there, I mean, what you're talking about, that story obviously leading you to where you are now is huge. And a lot of young people got to realize that hard work and dedication, that's where it starts.
Yeah, man, like I said, that was just the beginning. That was like 97. Mm-hmm. So I was still in high school at the time. You know what I'm saying? I was still in high school, so I was making music. I wasn't putting it out yet. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't comfortable putting my music out yet. We was making it, and it was, you know, and when I say some wild things happen in your journey, so then I probably that next year, like 98, my senior year of high school, we did our first talent show together, and it was a wild experience, man. I remember, you know, we get on stage, and it was a Whammo talent show. And it was wild, man, because I remember we had went after this group. We was the fourth group to go, and the first three groups was kind of a little lackluster. And a lady gets on stage, is like, yo, y'all ain't booed nobody yet. Y'all supposed to boo people. Y'all let the people get away with this. Y'all supposed to boo people. So as soon as we get on stage, my man Kenny gets on stage and says one word before we start rapping. They just start booing. Like, boo. Like, so it was to me, I felt it was unfair because like he didn't even say nothing. He just put his hand up.
Yeah.
And they like, boo. Like, I was like, damn. So, we get to rapping, they booing, and then this is when I kind of had my aha moment. Like, I had the second verse. And when I started rapping, like, the boo stopped. It stopped, you know what I'm saying? And it was like, I ain't saying that to just try to big myself up, but it was like when I really gained confidence, like, yo, I can really do this, because I walked into a hostile situation where they was already like, booed him because that's what they was told to do. But when I started rapping, all the boos stopped. And then, unfortunately, the third artist got up and kind of froze up. It was our first show. The third person in the group when the third verse came, he got stuck, forgot his words, and yo, almost like B Rabbit on
Rabbit at 8 Mile.
It's 8 Mile. But we were 17, 18 years old though, so you know what I'm saying. Like, there's no shade to anybody, and then the boos came back, of course, when my man froze up. But that was my aha moment. Like, yo, I can do this. So then I start, we was making music with Kenny still, but I started venturing off and making music on my own at the same time. And that's when I started reaching out to guys like Black Seas, and my cousin would hit up Seas, and I go over to the crib. That's when he lived up off of Stokes, I believe. Yeah. Go up there, he would be cranking out beats for me, man. We up there making music, whatnot. So I just started venturing off, and then I linked up. I told my boy Joe got behind it. I was one of my best friends at the time, and he started believing what I was doing. I was like, look, I'm on my way to college, bro, but on these 4 years, I'm gonna still be making music while I'm in college. So this is what I used to do every summer, man. And I told him, like, when I get out, we got to make a way. This is gonna be our life. You know what I'm saying? So he was with it. Every summer in college, just about. This is the reason why I never went to summer school. Because Kenny went to ITT Tech. So Kenny, like I said, me and Kenny's musical journey went on for years, and even later in life. Kenny went to ITT Tech, and he graduated at 19, which gave him a job at Nokia down in Melbourne, Florida, Palm Bay, Melbourne, Florida. So he moved down there, which is like 45 minutes outside of Orlando, something like that. About an hour outside of Orlando. He moved down there at the age of 19 because he had a job. I was paying him over $60,000 at 19. Right. So he went down there for that. So every summer, Kenny was the technical guy. So he was the guy that had all the equipment and did all the recording and made beats and all that. So every summer, I said, I'm not going to summer school because I'm going to Florida. So I would hop on the plane, spend a month and a half to 2 months in Florida. I was able to work out down there, do whatever I had to do for like sports wise. There was gyms in the complex. There was, it was hot outside. I was able to walk around, courts everywhere. I was able to do my thing that way, but I was also able to make music. So I would spend my whole summers down there until I graduated, man. And by the time I graduated, Kenny had moved back to Pittsburgh because he had got a better job in Pittsburgh. And then when I graduated, we started doing our thing. But me and Kenny already did our thing for like a year outside of graduation because 2005 is when I made the serious transition into going solo, and I really took the music industry serious. And I made my first solo demo, which we took to Chicago to this. I had to win this contest called Unseen, Unheard. I had one out of Pittsburgh, and I actually went out of Youngstown. I went to Youngstown and got involved, and I was the winner. And they sent me to Chicago, and so me and Joe go to Chicago, and that's where everything started, man. I took the demo up there, sat down with a bunch of labels, garnered interest from different spots, and somehow we ended up meeting. Got recommended to the person that actually brought us to Atlanta, and that's just where the musical journey started. So I went to meet this lady named Wendy Day in Memphis. And this is all from the demo that I made and whatnot. And we met her in Memphis, and she was she is one of the biggest consultants in the music industry. You know what I mean? Like she's the one that she was behind the Cash Money deal, the big Cash Money deal. They got 100% of the masters and whatnot. She was behind the No Limit deal, so they got 85% of theirs. She had worked with Eminem and helping him get signed to Aftermath. She had worked with Tupac before he passed away, so she was influential in the whole industry. We ended up meeting her, and you know what I mean, we kind of showed her the vision of what we wanted to do. She was in Memphis at the time, and she was moving to Atlanta, and she was like, "Well, you know what I mean, get your team together and come down to Atlanta, and we could work this out." You know what I mean? She was our consultant. She helped pave the way for us to do everything we needed to do. So that's kind of where the journey started. And I walked into like an independent situation, an independent deal type of situation down in Atlanta, and that's where it all started.
Nah, I mean that's a great story right there, man. And so you transitioned down to Atlanta. During that time, and you got a chance to work with some notable artists, man. Talk about some of the artists that you got a chance to do work with or collaborate with on some projects.
So my first single in Atlanta, I worked with Don P from Trillville. You know, Trillville made the song Some Cut and you know what it is, yo. What's up? They did that record. So my first single, I worked with them, and it was funny how I met P because Wendy had hooked me up with, like, she gave me like I was just talking to one of my homeboys the other day about this, man. Like, the doors that Wendy opened for us down there was incredible because my first day down there, after we got settled, we had, she took us to Grand Hustle. Took us down to Grand Hustle to meet one of their in-house producers. His name was K.O. And K.O. had did a lot of the records for T.I. and whatnot. He had did Why You Want to Go and Do That, one of the bigger T.I. records. So we'd go meet K.O. And K.O.'s down there. He's going through his records and whatnot. And, like, this is my first time being around, like, producers that was, like, you know what I mean, like, in the game, like, full-fledged all day long. You know what I mean? Like, I had been around Black C's and them, but C's was back and forth between California and Pittsburgh. But now I'm sitting around with guys that was like, I'm witnessing where they make their magic at, and the artist is right upstairs. It's not like I'm at somebody's crib, like T.I. and them is upstairs, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm downstairs with K.O., but all the rest of the Grand Hustle artists is upstairs in the other studios. So, you know, K.O. opened the door for us. He introduced me to the head engineer there, which name was Elliot. He opened the door for us for me to record there. Like, so, you know, this is basically one of my home recording spots now, like Echo Studios, and this is the home of T.I., B.O.B., and Big Country Kane, and everybody else that was on Grand Hustle at the time. So, you know, he kind of opened that door. So we're in there recording my project, and Don P's walking through the studio. So I don't know how he got in. He just comes in our session, and, like, I remember him because we had did a show. We had did a couple shows with him in Pittsburgh with Trillville. We had did one of Angels with Trillville, and then a label I was kind of affiliated with. It did a big event at the Mellon Arena, and brought Trillville in, brought Young Buck, Trillville, Cassidy, Dipset. It was a huge concert in Pittsburgh that they had put together. So we had met them a couple of times, but so I see him like, yo, what's up? He's like, yo, I do beats. I didn't even know he did beats. So he's playing beats, and I was like, yo, I like this right here. So me and him get to working on the record, and we create a song together. It was called All About the Paper. So that was my first work with somebody that was in the industry, you know, that had a charted single or whatnot. Then I went on to meet, years later, I went on to meet Bone Crusher, who had, you know, the song Never Scared. And he became a real good friend of mine. Like, our relationship wasn't a musical relationship. It was more of a friendship. And we just happened to make some songs together. You know what I'm saying? Like, at his crib or whatnot, at the studio. It was more like a musical relationship. You know, I mean, it was more of a friendship. It wasn't a musical relationship. It was a friendship that happened. We just made some music together whenever we could. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, because we was cool. You know what I mean? We was hanging out every night. You know what I mean? We'd go over to the crib. We'd go out, go to industry events together, do this, do that. So it was like, that was big homie. You know what I mean? Then down the line, I had like my musical transition in Atlanta was different, man, because I went down there with a team of producers, engineers. Went down with the whole team. The whole Paperboy Entertainment team was down there. And after a year or so, things got kind of shaky with us, and I moved on. You know what I mean? I moved on, moved out the place they had set up for me, and I'm like right outside of Glen Ridge. I moved to my own spot in Dunwoody with two of my homies. Like one of them that came down with that was part of the label situation. I walked away also. He's from Memphis, named Moses. And then I called my homeboy Nisha Beats. Financially, all my money is put into the B.O.B. situation. So you just got to come, you know what I mean? If you could figure out a way to support it, like we would love to work with you because we're going to be on the road, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, whoa, these dudes is on tour. And at that point, like I said, I walked away from the label situation. I built on this off the strength of me just grinding it out myself. Man, I never really, you know, I always look back on that moment. I had people I could have called, probably got some money. You know what I mean? Some of my good friends was paid at the time, but I just never called nobody. I tried to figure it out myself, and it just never worked out. And I kind of regret that moment. That was like one of the biggest obstacles I had hit, you know, and as far as the music industry. And I kind of regret that moment, you know what I'm saying? But it is what it is, because that year I went on, I kept pushing, you know what I'm saying? Like that didn't work out. I kept pushing, and then the following year, 2010, with the album finally dropped, the ruler dropped. It was with DJ Burnwan. DJ Burnwan was the DJ on it. I mean, if you guys don't know Burnwan did Gucci Mane's first mixtape, the Chicken Talk. He did a lot of stuff. He was influential in the South, you know what I mean? Especially down in Atlanta, and me and him became good friends. So like me and Burnwan like this, you know what I mean? Another guy could call on the phone. If I need a place to stay in Atlanta, he can open his door for me. So, you know, it was all love with us. So me and him did that project, and I took it back to the Berg, and man, I was just slanging it, man. I was slanging it. The car, you know what I'm saying? Like just doing my thing, and that led to me doing 70 shows that year, man.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Where then we started doing our own game. Brought Bone to Pittsburgh, Bone Crusher up there, and then we brought Young Jock to Pittsburgh. We did something with Styles P.
Wow.
Man, we did a lot of shows that year, man. It was a real good year. But this is where the second roadblock in my music career came. So 2010, 2011, I did 70 shows, man. So I was still living in Atlanta at the time, but I was traveling back and forth. I had moved out the crib in Dunwoody. I had got a loft down in downtown Atlanta, just like on the outskirts of downtown. And I was going back and forth between Pittsburgh and and there was just something changing in me, man, and I couldn't figure it out. So we'd be in the studio, and I'd be in there trying to record the new material, and I always had to have a cup with me, and I kept spitting, because there was just so much phlegm. I couldn't understand what was going on. And Nisha used to always be like, yo, Mello, there's something wrong with you, man. Like, there's something wrong with your voice. Your voice you have to say. I'm like, nah, bro, we just working, man. You know what I mean? I'm thinking it's because we working. I mean, like, we busting out shows. We making music. We just nonstop. Like, some nights doing 2 shows, some weekends doing 3, 4, you know what I'm saying? So I'm thinking, like, that's the issue. I'm just overworked. So I remember that month we did the Jock situation. This was a big month. We brought Jock up to Pittsburgh, and then I performed for the first Pittsburgh Power was built a football. It was an arena football team.
I remember that.
And I did their first home game, and I did the first halftime show, 10,000, because I had a song called Power. I mean, rock out in front of 10,000 folks. You know what I'm saying? With my song Power, I had the cheerleaders had a whole routine to my song or whatnot. So that was just like things was happening, man. Like, besides being on the road, we was getting stuff like that. We was getting shows like that where we was getting a couple grand for 3 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Like, it don't get no better than that. But I'm sitting there and I'm like, consistently in the studio, consistently working. And that April, I got bronchitis, and I thought that it was, so I'm thinking like that's why my voice is starting to mess up, because I'm just, I recovered from the bronchitis and I worked over and through it. So by the time summer comes, I had a show. I had 2 shows in one night. One was out of town, and the other one I came back to Pittsburgh. And came back to Pittsburgh, and I did we was on stage on the South Side, and in the middle of my song, I go mute. Like I'm trying to rap, and I go mute. Like I can't speak at all. Nothing comes out. And I'm like, damn. So I get home that night. I'm like, okay, I'm thinking I'm gonna recover. I'm like, yo, that's just for me doing too much. I'm just doing too much, man. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. So then it's like I get a little better. Then like September comes, I do another gig down. It was in Pittsburgh. I did another gig, and I just didn't feel good on stage. Like I felt like I wanted to quit. I didn't quit, but I felt like felt like my throat was jacked up still, and I was feeling a little off and a little dizzy and shit. So it was like, just didn't feel right, man. So probably the next week, I was supposed to have a show in Martinsburg, West Virginia. And, so I'm packing the car because I was going to go from Martinsburg from there, and I was going to hit up to Detroit after that. So I'm packing the car up to go, and in the midst of packing the car up, I kind of just fall out. You know what I'm saying? And I get rushed to the hospital. When I get to the hospital, and they told me I had a blood clot in my lungs. But then that wasn't the case. They had retracted that and said it was pleurisy. So a little pleurisy here, you know what I mean? So I'm thinking, okay, well, that's what's been going on. That's why I messed up. So that ended up turning into pneumonia. So then I had pneumonia for a minute. So I'm like, so now I'm really shut down until like December. But by the time December come, I can't talk at all. Like couldn't talk at all by the time December came. It was crazy. So I go to a doctor. I was like real raspy and like real low. Like it was, I just couldn't do it, man. And I go to the doctor. They sent me to an ENT. And when I get to the ENT, there's a plane fire. So I go to the ENT, and they do this test on me, and they found out that acid reflux, because I had GERD real bad just all this time. They found out acid reflux had ate through my esophagus and got to my vocal cords. And that's what caused all the issues with my voice. That's what caused all the phlegm and all the spitting and me going blank in certain times. So that kind of ended my music career as an artist. You know what I'm saying? Because it took me, I went through year 1 not being able to talk and just trying to figure out what was going on, or doing all the tests. And when they finally diagnosed me, year 2 was the recovery.
So you was pretty much in the beginning of your rap career. You go down to Atlanta, you start meeting the right people, you start making the right music. It started trickling up, not just from being in the South and being parts of the Midwest, but it started going up to the East Coast. You start building relationships with the right people, connecting with the right people, getting your music in the right hands. And just as your career is getting ready to take off, you fall into a position where you're having health issues,
Exactly.
Which pretty much takes you out of doing what you love to do, because you need your voice to be able to do what you do at a high level. And so all those things happen to you. You transition, you're in Pittsburgh as you're resting and trying to kind of recuperate and get yourself back. What happens from there? You get back to Pittsburgh, you realize like, hey, I'm going to have to be shut down for a while.
Yeah,
what happens from there, and what's the next step for you as you realize your career is starting to go backwards due to the health issues?
So from the previous year, for me doing all those shows and all that, I get one more check in music, like in January the following year, probably like 2012. And literally, like that's the last, I got that from the ASCAP, from the ASCAP Rewards. ASCAP was my performing rights organization. I get that from them. That was it, but money-wise. So I was living off the sales of my little album and just the last little check from everything I had done, and I'm going to therapy once a week at $100 a pop, no insurance. So she's like, I do one more thing entertainment wise, which I probably shouldn't have did at the time. I became an extra in the movie. What's that movie called? In Pittsburgh, Out of the Furnace. So I did one more thing entertainment wise, which I probably shouldn't have done because we had to do a 13-hour set, screaming down in the fight scene, and like my voice was already raw, and it was like I did it for experience, for like, you know, because I always wanted to do that type of stuff, but that was bad. And then after that, I realized like, yo, I have to get a job because I got paid for that. They gave me a check and it was terrible, and I was like, man. So I realized I needed to get a job to support my health. It was really more of a health situation. So I go get. It's funny. My first job I ended up getting was the coach of the 9th grade basketball team at the Woodland Hills High School. I go get that job, and didn't pay that much, but that's the first gig I got, which was another bad idea because I'm recovering.
Gotta use your voice again.
But I need my voice to coach because I'm you know what I mean? And like I said, that was always one of my dreams, though, to be a coach. So in the midst of that that was 2012, I think it was. I got that coaching job. Then the following year, I get a phone call. The following year, the head coach that brought me in, because I didn't even want to coach, honestly. So let me back that up. I didn't want to coach at that time. It just happened that I looked at it. I need a job, and the AD at that time, the assistant AD at that time under George Novak was Corey Morton, and Corey graduated a year before me. She was probably one of the best basketball players to come out of Woodland Hills. She scored 1,900 points in her career. And she told the head coach that she knew somebody that can coach the 9th grade team because I had did summer programs with her. If you go back during my journey, I picked up from some of my things that my parents had done. Even when I got my situation in Atlanta, I would come back to Pittsburgh in the summer and put together events for the kids. You know, so I did summer leagues. I mean, not summer leagues, but summer camps and whatnot. I worked summer camps, ran day camps. We used to go coach the girls up at Woodland Hills. So there's stuff I used to do on my own, you know what I mean, just to make sure I was always staying in touch with what was going on. I got that from my parents, basically. But so Corey told him that they knew somebody that could coach, and like I said, I didn't want to do it. But Decker called me. His name was Decker. His name was Mike Decker. He calls me and was like, Corey told me you would be a good coach up here, blah, blah, blah. I'm sitting there thinking, like, I don't want to do this, but I'm thinking, like, I need a job. Right. Even though this is what going to give me insurance, but it's going to give me a foot in the door to maybe get something else. So I take that job, and I coached the first year up there, and Decker leaves after my first year. So when Decker leaves, I go to Novak. I'm like, look, man, I want the head coaching job. He's like, son, I don't think you're ready yet. You know, you're only been doing this 1 year. I'm like, man, what you mean? Like, I'm ready. I felt I was ready, and to this day, I still felt I was ready. But he said, no, we're going to go another. He said, but I got something else for you. He's like, look, a guy out of Ben Fairless that was working there, he had a job, and he was the community liaison down there, and he had a stroke. He recently had a stroke, and they need somebody. And I recommend you because I feel like you know every kid in this community for what you've done over the past couple of years. Like I said, me doing my camps and all that and come back and working with the kids or whatnot. He said, I feel like you'd be the perfect person for that job. I'm like, all right, man, I came here for the head coaching job, but then I started thinking like, well, I do need insurance. I do need a job. So I take it, and I go down, and I'm working at Ben Fairless, you know what I'm saying? And it was something else. So I was really a substitute. I was a substitute at that.
So you kind of got back to where it all started. You know, you kind of went full circle. You know, you go on your journey going through college, then your professional career being in the hip-hop industry, doing some good things there, hit a roadblock, some adversity strikes. But because of the relationship that you built and the type of guy that you were, you wound up back in your hometown being at your old intermediate school where you went to. And obviously you'd be a good role model for that because, I mean, you're a guy that comes from that community and understand what the kids go through. It's just funny how things work out in life along a journey, who you meet and who you cross paths with end up putting you in position to get hired, back where you were.
It all worked out because Mr. Mack is the guy that had a stroke. He was an older gentleman from Rankin area, and he was good friends with my dad and whatnot. So I didn't really know Mr. Mack until that point. When I met him, he had told me he knew my father, and he knew, all the people that was around me, like Mr. Rich and all them. He was cool with all them. He was from Rankin, of course. They was all from Braddock, but he told me how they used to have wars back in the day in basketball and whatnot. But long story short, Mr. Mack came back healthy, man. He fought hard and came back a lot quicker than people thought. He came back by Thanksgiving, right after Thanksgiving, which they had said he was supposed to retire. Mr. Mack said he refused to lose, and he came back. So what happened was I did such a good job up there, they kept me on for the rest of the year anyways. So going into the next year, they created a new position called behavior specialist. And then there was a little, everybody wanted me to work for them. You know what I mean? The junior high wanted me to work for them. Fairless wanted to keep me. The high school wanted me, and Rankin wanted me. And Rankin was the alternative school. And I was like, I didn't want to deal with junior high kids at that point. I was like, no, man. I truly wanted to stay at Fairless, but you can't stay at Fairless because Mr. Mack is here.
Right.
And I was like, well, put me at the high school because I coach up there anyways. And I went to the high school, man, and I was the behavior specialist for 2-3 years, and then I became the head behavior specialist for the district, up there at that time. So after a couple of years.
So you end up taking that opportunity, and then along the road of being there at Woodland Hills and being in that behavior specialist role, you also go and pursue your master's degree too at Point Park, if I'm not mistaken, right? Talk about what made you go and get your master's degree. And then also in the midst of all that, if I'm not mistaken, you start working on your acting career as well. So talk a little bit about the other things that you started doing on the side while you were working that job at Woodland Hills.
So when I was working at Woodland Hills, man, I was a man of many hustles. So when I say many hustles, I had it because I knew Woodland Hills was just a bridge. You know what I'm saying? It was like, okay, I took a hard hit financially when I got sick, and mentally out. That's the only time in my life I could say I was depressed at that time. You know what I mean? Because it was like, you ask me, God, why you could have took a finger, a toe, you took my instrument that I used to generate money for. So, you know what I mean? It was a rough transition. That's probably the roughest transition in my life. So, but in the midst of that, I linked back up with Kenny Williams, and we built a recording studio in Norfolk Sales. So that was business number one. We built the recording studio. This is why I was sick, because I was like, I ain't got nothing else to do. I got to get out the house. I'm tired of playing video games. I'm tired of watching Martin reruns of Steve Harvey and all this other stuff and the Wayans brothers. I got to do something. Right. I got to quit feeling bad for myself, quit put pity on myself, and get out the crib. So we went and built a recording studio in Norfolk Sales. We built it from scratch, man. We went and got an office building and turned that office building. We went and bought. Kenny was a bad man. Him and his wife's father got the wood, and we built the whole booth. I mean, we built it from the ground up. You know what I'm saying? We built the studio, which is still standing today. That was business number one. Number two was I was the basketball coach. I went from 9th grade basketball coach to JV coach, and got on the JV, and then got on the varsity staff also. Me and a partner of mine named Mr. Youngblood ran the after-school program. We ran the after-school program called Primetime up at the high school. So I was literally, my days was booked. And like you said, I was going to school also for my master's. But I went to school for my master's was the same reason I went to undergrad. I had them in my mind. I was like, look, I built all these years in the music industry in Atlanta, built all these connections. I could leverage those connections to other people that was in the same position I was in, because when I was coming up, I didn't have nobody to lean on. So I can be a tool for other folks. I could be a mentor and help other people. So I decided to build them. I wanted to go into management. And I was like, but me, I had an end game on my management. It was like, I don't want to just stop at talent entertainment. I want to build a full-fledged management company where I'm working with musicians, comedians, actors, athletes. So I said, I'm gonna go back to school and get my master's, MBA, and because if I want to get into football or like agent type work, you got to have a master's degree to take the test or whatnot. So I kind of knew, and Point Park had this program called the Sports Arts and Entertainment Management. Sports Arts and Entertainment Management, that was part of their MBA. That was like the concentration that they had. I was like, yo, that's perfect for exactly what I want to do. So I went back to school and did that for that reason, because I knew when I was done, I was going to build a company that I was going to be like basically live the rest of my life off. You know, and in the midst of that, I did when I was in school. So like I said, my days was crazy. It was like wake up 5 in the morning, go to school go to work. After work, go to straight to the after school program, get that started. After school program, go straight to basketball practice when basketball season was over. It was in. After basketball practice, leave there and go to school down at Point Park. And then the opportunity came for a movie. So 2000 and I want to say like 15 or 16, I was in LA with a kid that I had graduated high school from. I just stopped to visit him. I wasn't expecting what was going to come out of this visit. It was like, yo, he lives down Hermosa Beach. I'm going to go check him out. His name was Damian Fushka. And I go to his house. I'm like, yo, what's up, Dame? How you doing, man? Blah, blah, blah. He's like, look, man, I want to show you something. And he goes in his room and pulls out this board. He's like, I've been working on this movie. And he has a sketch. And he has this guy that looks just like me. He's like, this is you. I envisioned you in this role.
Wow. And
he was working in a movie business. He had like, when I was there, he was on some type of set with Wesley Snipes. I don't know what it was, but you know, he was, because I stayed with him one night, and he was like, well, I got to go to work. I'll be at work for the next week, but you can stay at the house if you want. I got to go on set with Wesley Snipes, whatnot. So he's in that industry. So he told me this, and I'm like, all right, cool. Then he was like a year or two later. So it wasn't 16. It was probably like 13 or something like that, 13, 14. Then like a year or two later, he gives me a call. Because I didn't think it was going to happen. I was like, you know, this shit ain't happening. A year or two later, it's in Pittsburgh. I want you to come through, blah, 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 this and that. You know, see what you got. I go to auditions. I do my thing. I make it. And then we start shooting, I think, in 2017.
Wow.
We shoot it in 17. So it's crazy because it just adds more to what I got to do. Right. Now I got to grow out. Like, I'm growing my hair on my face all crazy. I'm letting my hair just be nappy because I had to grow it out. Like, this is the quarantine right here, but I actually had to do this. Like, I had to let my hair grow for months just so I could fit the role, because I had to play a homeless guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had to play, and I was like the leader of the homeless. Right. So it just add on the more I got to do. Like, I'm going to school every day. I'm working 3 jobs at the high school with basketball coaching, my main job, the after school program. And now I got to go do shoots in between some of these things. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it just added more to it. And we ended up doing that movie. And we premiered it, I think, in like 2018 at Comic-Con in San Diego, which was pretty dope. You know, we went down to that, and that was nice. So that was my first. I already did some stuff on Out of the Furnace as an extra, but I was actually a main character in this movie. So that's how that got started.
Well, and I think that transitions into really my next question is, with all that going on, it led you back into the music industry, but in a different role. And so talk about that transition to where you are currently now, in charge of your own management company, back in the music industry, and some of the ideas that you have, you're able to put them into fruition. So talk about that transition, how it's been to where you are now, and what things you have coming up with that company.
All right, so it worked out perfect, man. It was the perfect storm, and I feel bad for saying that because like the situation that happened hurt a lot of other people. But Woodland Hills, like in my mind, I got my degree, I graduated, I had coached the high school. We went to the semifinals 2 years in a row. Just couldn't get past that. In the high school level, I had done everything I could do at Woodland Hills. At that point, to me, it was time. What happened was 2019, my position got furloughed. They had told us about it in like February, January, that we would get furloughed for in June after the year was over. And it was perfect for me, you know what I'm saying? Because in my mind, I was already gonna be done anyways. In my mind, like that, I'm not necessarily saying that was gonna happen, because you talk about money and just livelihood. Sometimes that'll hold you back in making a decision that was critical. But I was already spending so much time in LA, so how, like I was saying back in college, like it's a common theme. When there's something that I want, I put the time in to go make sure that I'm doing it. So every summer, after school was over, these last couple of years, since like 2013, I would come spend the summer in Los Angeles. So I would come rent a place out for the summer or stay with a homie or something like that, and stay the whole summer here, because, as when you work for the school, you get off in the summers. So you don't go back till August. So when June, after my last day, I was on the plane for the last 4 or 5 years, coming to LA and just building up my base here in LA, just getting tight with folks out here, like trying to build my network up, because I knew there was a time when I was going to come out here and be here for good. So it was like, it's the same as what I was doing in college, you know what I'm saying? Like, I knew what I wanted, so I was putting the time in when I had the time. I was still handling my priorities, everything else I had going on in my life, but I found that time to chase my passion. So I knew what I wanted to do. I knew I wasn't about making music no more for myself. So my first artist I had met, like I said, I was a man of many hustles, man. I was even doing Uber. I was even Ubering, you know what I'm saying? And the first artist I had under my belt is, I met her in an Uber. And man, she's like, me and her been rocking since. We've been rocking probably about 5 years now. You know what I mean? So it's she's a neo soul singer, to where this year she was named, her name is Sierra Sellers. Let me put that out. Her name is Sierra Sellers. She's a neo soul singer. This year she was named to the NPR, Slingshot NPR's top artist to watch for 2020. Now, you don't know what NPR is. If you ever go online and see the Tiny Desk concerts or whatnot, they host, that's by NPR. So they named her one of the top artists of 2020 to watch. So that's, you know what I mean? So she did the majority of that on her own, because she's a hard worker, but it's just like our relationships have helped us get to these points. You know what I'm saying? So to answer your question more, the transition, like I said, it worked out perfect. I got furloughed. So in June, I just moved. I picked up and dipped. You know what I mean? Like I said, it was already in my mind what I was going to do, but it just made the conversation easier. It made the situation easier. So picked up and moved to Los Angeles. That's where I'm at now. The company is, I got an artist, Sierra Sellers, singer. Like I said, she was named, she's done a lot of things. Before the coronavirus hit, we had shows booked throughout the country. We had just, the week before the country shut down, she just did 3 sellouts in Chicago, back to back. 3 nights in a row. So like I said, we're on our way. You know what I mean? She's doing her thing. Then I got another artist named Johnny Good. Johnny Good is from Pittsburgh. He lives in Los Angeles. He's the bass player for, he's an artist himself, but he also plays bass. He plays bass for Lady Gaga. So whenever she's on tour, he's on the road with her, wherever she's at throughout the world, he's with her. And then when we find shows for him to do on his own in those same cities. You know what I'm saying? So working with him, I got another artist from Philadelphia named Pick Protect. Young kid, 21. Last 2 years, done over 2 million streams on Spotify alone. You know what I mean? Like close to 2 million on Spotify alone. So, he's doing his thing. Working with a producer, Nisha Beats, that I told you that me and Nisha got a relationship that go back years. He's had his hand in the industry for years, you know what I mean? Like working with some of the bigger artists like Wiz Khalifa or whatnot, and, you know what I mean, just doing major things with other artists or whatnot. So, and I got another kid from named Influential J, man. He's got music on the TV show Grownish. Just he's young kid. He's multi-talented, man. He could do everything, man. Like sing, rap, create your website, graphics. Like he shoot his own videos. The boy is talented, man. He's dope. Like I envision him going from music to movies. You know what I'm saying? I really envision him. So, but my next step is building a company more. During this coronavirus pandemic, man, I just been sitting here, and last month and a half, I just been pounding the pavement, man. Well, not the pavement. That's just a statement I say. Like just grinding it out and learning more, adding more skills adding more tools to the toolbox. You know what I'm saying? Like working on more stuff like marketing wise. Got certified in social media marketing and all the other forms of digital marketing over these past 2 months. The next transition though, within the next 18 months, we'll transition into sports. That's the goal. So I'm doing all the necessary work now to get my mind right to take that test, getting the materials to study. I'm even taking an online little course right now on sports management, becoming a sports agent through Case Western University. I'm doing that right now to just prepare myself for the other materials I got to take the test. So we will be a full-fledged company. Well, we already a company managing artists and producers, but we will take on other forms of talent within the next 2 years. But our next step is sports.
So being an artist in the industry, now you're managing artists in the industry in more of a leadership role. What's the best part about the music industry, and what's the worst part about the music industry?
So are you asking me what's the best part as an artist or the best part as my role now?
Looking at it from your role now, just in general, the industry itself, what would you say is the best part? I guess from an artist perspective, and then now being in your role now, those two perspectives, and then what is the worst part about the industry in general that anybody can attest to that's in it?
Well, for me, the best part is I love a challenge, man. I know that's not the answer is probably looking for, but for me, I love the challenge of every day of trying to take something, trying to help an artist go from just the dream in a living room to possibly being on the biggest stage in the world. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's what motivates me every day. Like I love that. Now, the part of the industry that I hate, of course, is as an artist, I hated the life that came with being an artist. Like, I didn't like the limelight. I didn't like being in the club every day, every night, working and trying to, I didn't like because it led to a lot of bad habits, which ultimately contributed to my health. So I didn't like that part, the no sleep, the constant grind. Like there's no set hours in this industry. You know what I mean? That's one of the things I hate. There's no set hours. Like it's not a 9 to 5 type of industry. You know what I'm saying? It's not a Monday through Friday type of industry. It's 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. Especially when you realize, like, when you start dealing with people in other countries, I think London's like nine hours behind us or ahead of us. You know what I'm saying? So it's like our night and day is flip-flop. So, you got to talk to them at a certain time of day, you know what I mean? Or just so y'all on the same page. So it's like there is no set parameters. That's what I hate about the industry. Like there's no set parameters. There's no set guidelines. It's not a quote unquote job like you got when you work at a school. Like you work at a school, you go to work at 5 and you're done at 3. You know what I'm saying? It's not like that here. Like it's 24 hours. So that's what I hate. But the best part is just seeing people from the management standpoint, just seeing people accomplish small goal after small goal. Just accomplish small goals until we get to that big goal. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the beauty of it. That's what I love to see.
Well, that's great, man. We're going to transition into the last part of the show. It's called Top 5 segment. And so this is the area where I ask you about certain subjects and give me your top 5 in those areas. So we're going to start off with the first one. And this is your industry, so I'd like to hear your answers about this. Give me your top 5 rappers of all time.
So, it's like we this is crazy because it's like it's always hard for me to answer this question. Hey, we're working on a show right now also the show is actually called Top Five, and so we talk about a lot of these things. It's always a tough question because it's like I have my 5 favorites, and then you got, you know what I mean, that you got your 5 that you think are the best. Like, because I know one of my favorites is not the best. You know what I'm saying? But he's definitely, but he's my favorite. Right. But so it's like I have a top 3 that I always speak on and that'll never change, which is Tupac, Jay-Z, and Scarface. Then my top 3 favorite, and then my top 3 all time. You know what I mean? And the reason being is because their longevity. Of course, Tupac's life, I mean, got cut short, but the amount of material he put out in that time was ridiculous. And then all the material that came out after he died was still ridiculous. So, you know, but Jay-Z and Scarface been doing it since the 80s, the late 80s. And, you know, he's one of the few people that's going through a real tough time with this COVID situation. It hit him pretty bad. So hopefully it all works out for him, man. That's definitely one of my idols in this industry, man. And just one of the greatest to ever do it to me. But to round out that 5, man, it's tough. You know, that's a tough question.
You could give me your 2 favorite. It don't got to be like the top 5 as far as ranking. You give me 3.
My 2 favorites would be my on that list. My favorite over the last 20 years would be Young Jeezy. Definitely a fan, but I know if I'm talking top 5, like greatest to do it, he's not in that conversation.
He's a Hall of Famer though. He's Hall of Famer. He's all time great.
He's definitely one of my favorites, and you know, it's I don't know. The last one is like when I go through my catalogs, what I listen to the most. It's crazy because I listen to a lot of the game. The artist, I've been listening, like I like every one of his albums. I listen to him a lot. Like Kanye a lot. I don't like every Kanye album though, but I do like Kanye a lot. One of his albums is my favorite album. One of my favorite albums of all time. But then there's guys like Lil Wayne, man, that you just can't deny what he's done to the game. You know what I'm saying? Like so.
So you got a 5A, a 5B, and 5C then.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. I mean, if I had to go. If I was going to talk my top 5 all time, Wayne would be in my top 5 all time. Sure. You can't deny what he's done since 1998 till today.
Yeah, a legend in the hip hop game for sure.
People don't even realize that he's been doing it since like the
15, 16 years old.
Yeah, like 13. Like he's been doing this. He was real little, man. Like late 90s, man. You know what I mean? When he dropped his first album. So to now, I mean, that's a 22-year history. You know, man, 22-year career, man. It's like. That's unthought of.
Yeah, for sure.
The guy that got that right now, that's still like, and he's still relevant. You know what I mean? And 22 years later, like, a lot of artists are still doing it, but they're not relevant. You know what I'm saying? So, shout out to him for that. That's what's up. So, I mean, I would say like my favorite still, I would have to, because Wayne's not my favorite, but let's say just for sake right now, let's just throw Kanye there.
Yeah, for sure. Nah, those is all legendary guys that you talk about. That's all-time greats. I mean, you could put those guys in. If you had a top 20 list, those guys are going to fall in between.
All in the top 10 to me.
What?
I said those guys are probably fall all in the top 10 for me.
And honestly, I mean, in a lot of people's top 10, they might be in there too. I mean, when you talk about Jay-Z, Tupac, Scarface, even Jeezy with the work that he's done, and he's continuing to keep growing his catalog as far as music at a different level. When he came into the game in the early 2000s to now, he's taken his music to another level. And he's taken his business-wise to another level as well. And then the game, and then you talk about Lil Wayne. I mean, you know, those guys speak for themselves. So all them guys is first ballot Hall of Famers in the music industry. The NBA, give me your top 5 NBA players of all time.
Top 5
It could be your favorite or just the top 5 who you think in general. So
well,
what you think.
I'm gonna tell you my favorite, man, for the sake of, because I'm gonna speak about my favorites. Because your top 5 all the time, we can have a whole conversation on that. Top 5 all the time, we can have a whole conversation. But my favorite are Jordan, Duncan, Tim Duncan, Keem Olajuwon, Derrick Rose, and Russell Westbrook. Those are my 5 favorite players to ever play. That's my 5 favorite. Now, them guys, Russell Westbrook and Derrick Rose wouldn't be in my top 5 at all. But I would probably, I mean, I'm a guy that, I'm going to tell you how I do this. So, like, I got to wait to see your whole body work before I can grade you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could see where you're trending on going, but I'm not going to give you a top 5 spot until you're done. You know what I'm saying? So if I had to go round out some players that I seen play, it would probably be to round out besides Duncan, Jordan, and Leslie would be in my top 5 that I seen play, and I'd probably round it out. Besides, because if you play in the day, I don't put you in the list if you're still playing today. So retire would probably be Kobe, and I caught late Magic, and it would probably be Kobe and Magic probably.
All right.
If not Magic, then you could always lean towards a guy like Shaq or somebody.
All right. And then the last question is, give me the top 5 places you ever visited or went on vacation to.
I mean, in the United States, I've probably been everywhere. My favorite place to always, like, Miami was always a favorite place of mine. I always loved Miami. Las Vegas is always a favorite place of mine. I've been there probably about 30 times, man. I was probably been there 4 or 5 times in the last 6 months because it's so close to me now. I love Toronto. Toronto, Canada is definitely one of my favorite places to be, especially in the summer. Winter is cold as hell. It's tough. I enjoy the Dominican Republic a lot, even though I got sick down there. I got sick as hell down there, but that was a beautiful place. I enjoyed not just the beach or nothing. Like, I'm not a real beachy guy, but I enjoyed the excursion when I went to the like their inner city, their neighborhoods, their towns. That was one of the best experiences I ever had. I definitely enjoyed that. And number 5 will probably be what I said. I said Toronto. I mean, before I moved to LA, it was probably my favorite place.
Say that one more time.
Before I moved here to LA, it was probably my favorite place before I moved here. But now that I live here, I don't consider this being a visit. So
that's 5 right there.
Yeah, because I count LA, then definitely that's the reason I moved here, because I loved coming out here.
Yeah. Well, that's what's up, man. Well, I appreciate you participating in that, in the top 5 segment. Appreciate you coming on the show, man. We at the end right now. One of the things I wanted to tell you, the whole purpose of the show, Your Journey, is about giving people an opportunity and have a platform to tell their story from their lenses, talk about the good, the ups, and the downs, but also, too, giving them their crown while they're alive, man. And you've done some amazing work, whether it's working with youth, whether it's working in the music industry, whether it was your athletic career, and even in education. You operated at a high level in all those areas. So I appreciate you sharing your story and coming on the show, man.
I appreciate you for having me, man. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. And you continue to do what you're doing, man, like with your career and with this right here, because you're showing – I like the fact that you're giving people a chance to see how, that everything ain't easy. So if you really want something, you're going to run into some roadblocks. I'm not sure how the other journeys have went, but I'm pretty sure in everybody's life there's some type of roadblocks or some type of obstacle you got to get over. And if we could all share that so the youth can see that, they can understand when they're going through something, that don't mean that it's over. They still, all they got to do is keep pushing until they break through it.
No doubt, man. Appreciate it. Well, thank everyone for tuning into Your Journey. Be safe and God bless.
Yes, sir.